What's happening, lads? Welcome back to the channel. This is a highlight video, as you can see from the title of the video. If you want to get access to the full video, it is on Patreon, as are all of the other videos that I record when it comes to album reactions. They are all on Patreon, and you guys can get them all right now if you go to the links in the description. There's also a 7-day free trial that you can avail of, so make sure you go and check it out, at least give it a go. And yeah, other than that, if you don't care for the Patreon, then that's fine as well. You know, I'll just starve to death. It's grand. Enjoy. Cheers. It was weird because the production was like modern. You can hear it has that like revamped sound to it, but the actual heavier segments with the lower tuned guitars, the guitars actually were the rawest part of that mix from what I could hear. You know, in Trilogy, I think it's the intro track before it's like it swells. It has this like electronic digital swell to it where it goes. That's like the same feel again. So although like across the board metalcore wise, there's a lot of bands that do sound similar, and obviously I'm listening to this again now because it's been a while since I listened to Reticent by Silent Planet, and that was like one of the first metalcore or modern metalcore albums that I actually checked out. But ever since, I've listened to a lot more records. I've had a lot more experience listening to singles just from Twitch, so I'm definitely like hearing a lot of like the traditionally metalcore nuanced elements that I guess at the time when I first heard Silent Planet were so unique to me, but now when I hear it again, it's obviously a little bit more run-of-the-mill stuff, but you can still hear what's separating these guys from the rest of the pack. Like some of the actual riffs are reminding me of Invent Animate straight away, but again, the tone on this one really stands out to me. Like it does feel like there's a very distinguishable separation between the guitar tone and the rest of the mix, which is really, really nice, because a lot of the time it does almost feel like, you know, the metal element of metalcore gets lost because there's so much like over the top modern style production on the mix that the guitars just feel like another part of it as opposed to being like the sole element of it, which I do feel is important to have. Like keep that raw tone, I guess, at least feel like it's somewhat human. That lead coming in on top of the breakdown just gave me mad chills. Oh yeah. Oh, this one's getting me good. Yeah, this one's fucking sick. The atmosphere built throughout that mix in this track was insane. So many layered moments with the synth work. Even during the breakdown, we had like obviously the lower tuned guitars, but we had like a really fucking similar to the lead work that we have fading out right now. We had that similar lead work layered on top of the breakdown with synths, and then like there's harmonies in the vocals. Garrett's so strong. We had the almost Jesse Cash-esque vocal delivery, which I love. I don't know if introspective is the word for this, but obviously we're getting some French vocals here, right? And from what I'm seeing is this track is based on the story of Margaret Rofanche, who was the survivor of the Oradour-sur-Glane massacre, an event that happened on June 10th, 1944 during the Second World War. Okay, right, I need to listen to that track a few more times because it's obviously, again, like most of Silent Planet's tracks, very like emotionally driven. Garrett Russell is very, very good at conveying those emotions through the way in which his cadence when he screams is like just agony. It's almost like Invent Animate's current vocalist Marcus Vick. He's like almost like, it almost becomes a point where he's like an actor, although he's just like, not just a vocalist, but you know, he's a vocalist. You know, some vocalists don't really get that emotional connection with their audience. From a topical, like a theme standpoint, I can't really relate to a lot of this because obviously it's Garrett Russell, from what I can understand, playing the role of like women who have been oppressed throughout history, or like, you know, in different specific events throughout history. So example, this last track, the Margaret woman, again, I've never heard of this story, so it's completely new to me. You can take such nuanced, specific historic events and make them into like, again, a modern metal track, which is pretty impressive in its own right. And again, it just goes down to show how good he is from a writing standpoint and just an overall creativity standpoint, because it's not exactly like something you look at where, for example, if I'm thinking about writing a metalcore track, it's like, you know, you go to like a historic moments, 1944, you know, a French village, and then obviously to tie it all back into the theme, he then has like a female vocalist, and it's saying like, let me actually look at the lyrics because it's actually interesting to see if it's coming from the perspective of the woman. Je suis as I am. Again, I'm every time, like, I feel like when I listen to this stuff back after, I like understand it, but when I'm in the context of doing a video, I'm like, I can't speak French at all. But yeah, that looks to me like it's coming from the perspective of the French woman who I imagine. I haven't read into the story, but it looks like I am the mother of the dying, the dusts, like how can absence take my father's house? So yeah, obviously there was, I'm guessing, like bombing, or there was a raid of a village. Very, very detailed writing that would definitely lend itself to a lot of replay value, just to try and like read what Garrett's actually talking about, you know? Silent Planet are like the metalcore equivalent of the way in which I feel about like Humanity's Last Breath and Voljarta when they use blast beats. So for example, to bring that all around, I am the biggest fan of blast beats in, you know, heavier music, but I found myself quite enjoying the blast beats when Voljarta, or particularly Humanity's Last Breath, I think they kind of maybe sprinkle in a little bit more than Voljarta, but I kind of don't mind the blast beats in, like, I guess, Humanities. I won't say Thal music across the board because it's not all Thal music. Some Thal bands don't do it as good. But point being is that I think that the blast beats feel more intentional when they're like a part of something like Thal or Humanity's Last Breath, because it feels like they're being put in there to create this like dark, ominous feel that the world is ending, as opposed to like some of the deathcore bands that I personally just feel like the blast beats are there to like be technical, and I guess because that's like a staple in deathcore and it's like being that way for years, so it's like just a part of the music and it will be there because that's just structurally how a lot of the tracks are set up with blast beats. So to me, it just feels like 90% of the time with deathcore bands, the blast beats just go over my head and I don't really fuck with it. Bringing all that back to Silent Planet. So I used Humanity's Last Breath as the example of a band that I kind of like give a pass on something that I traditionally don't like. And I feel like Silent Planet is kind of the same for me when I use my, I suppose, what I've been saying for the past while of like, I've been listening to a lot of kind of almost generic metalcore bands. And I mean that in not like a really like rude term. I just mean like I've heard so many different like sounds and different styles of bands over the last while. A lot of it is starting to sound quite similar, which I guess is probably what a lot of people say anyway across the board in metalcore. And naturally, if you listen to enough music from the same genre, you're going to start to find things that sound quite the same. Silent Planet, I think, are the same as Humanity's Last Breath for me when it comes to like being a generic metalcore band. Now, hear me out on this one because that sounds bad. I give them a pass on somewhat sounding generic because I think for where it comes across as like it's kind of similar to a lot of other things that I've heard before, I think they separate themselves very, very clearly when it comes to the atmosphere that they build. So it's similar to like Invent Animate, and it's kind of the same pass that I give for Invent Animate because they make such an emotional feel just with the like, again, open pockets of space, the atmosphere, the synth work, some of the lead guitar work, the vocals. It's also soothing. I feel like Silent Planet are very, very good at that. But again, where they step up the next level is the actual one, the general introspection from Gareth. He's always fantastic. A lot of the concepts are going completely over my head at the moment, but I do understand that they're making like such a big effort to be creative with their writing across the board. So for me, although some of the sounds do come across as quite generic, like just that's not even like a bad thing. It's just a staple of the genre. That's what the genre sounds like. Metalcore is gonna sound like somewhat in the same bracket because, you know, there's fucking thousands of bands doing it. So it's gonna sound the same at some point when you've listened to enough. Again, to tie it all back in, I think I give them a bit of a pass because I love how creative Garrett Russell is at writing. You know, it's obviously a lot of time put into the actual writing, and it's probably one of the few instances where I would say in metalcore that it almost feels as though the lyrics are probably like one of the most intricate parts of the music. Like, I mean, there is a lot of like creative guitar work, but I would almost see it taking as long to write some of these lyrics or being as crafty and as skillful to write some of these lyrics as it would be to, you know, write some of these guitar riffs. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to say. I haven't really got anything particularly on the song. It was more just my feelings of the album up until this point. So let's continue on. Dark Strand.
shadow, I saw through this future. Your life was only a nominal fake. Singing the sound of silence, signaling the end.
I hear that little pan. Yeah, again, insane atmosphere. I don't know what the original... It kind of makes me want to listen to the original just to see the differences from the production standpoint. Like, you know, there was obviously some very, like, prominent bassy moments throughout different tracks. So I wonder if, like, those moments were maybe not as prominent. One thing I will say about the features is they do feel intentional. Like, they do feel like... You know, some bands, like, try and... Not just bands, but I guess... Like, even in, like, rap records I've seen in the past where... There's features that are like just crammed in there for the sake of it. Like even on Bring Me the Horizon's new track, I know it's completely different styles at this point, but like the Lil Uzi Vert feature on that, although it's not bad, it just definitely could have done without being there because he doesn't really offer much to the track. Like you could have had anyone, you could have had Ollie doing like the rap segment. It's almost like just getting artists on tracks for features to like bump the plays on a particular track. But these all do feel intentional. But there's those like guitars that are still gritty, you know, they still sound raw. Even that there is like really fucking creative the way he delivered that. Like he was just almost like kind of like he was tripping over his own words, but sounded like it made it sound good. He was trying to like squeeze in as much as possible at the end. Yeah, it sounds almost weird like. Oh my god, that is Goosebumps Central. You can't see it once again. I need to get a Goosebumps lens over here or something. Fuck. Wow. That one doesn't even feel like a song. Like I don't even know if I could put that on and be like vibing out to that. It's more just like you listen to that once, you take in the fucking emotions from it, and like you just don't even return to it. Like that was fucking insane as an outro track. That is how you do outros, because a lot of bands just fall flat a little bit on the outro scene. They just kind of like don't realize how pivotal or important, for me at least anyway, it is to have like a good grabbing, an intro that grabs your attention, and then also an outro that leaves you like longing for more, or at least like absolutely awe-inspired by what you just heard. So yeah, let me sit with this for a few more minutes. I'm going to gather my thoughts, and we'll be back with the full review that will be available on patreon.com/DrewFortune, guys. All the links are in the description. Get involved. There is a free trial as well for you guys to check it out, so come on over, patreon.com/DrewFortune. Cheers.